Do you ever feel like your past mistakes are a heavy weight dragging you down? What if I told you there's a way to finally let go of that burden and embrace a truly peaceful present? Here's the thing. It sounds counterintuitive, but the key to moving forward often lies in looking back. Not to dwell, but to heal. This video isn't about forgetting your past mistakes. It's about transforming your relationship with your past self, and it's easier than you think. Welcome back to Splendor. I'm so glad you're here with me today because we're diving deep into something that could literally change your life: learning how to forgive your past self. If you've ever felt stuck because of old regrets, if you've ever caught yourself thinking, "I should have known better," or "How could I have been so stupid?" then this video is specifically for you. Over the next 25 minutes, I'm going to share actionable techniques to release those old burdens, cultivate radical self-compassion, and pave the way for a more serene future. You deserve peace, and it starts with forgiving the person you used to be. We'll cover why self-forgiveness matters now more than ever, how to identify those wounds that are still affecting you, practical steps to actually let go, and how to embrace a future where you're no longer held prisoner by your past. And if you find value in what we're exploring today, I'd love it if you'd hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people who need to hear this message. Acknowledging the weight. Why forgiveness matters now? Let's start with something that might surprise you. Carrying unforgiven mistakes from your past isn't just emotionally exhausting, it's actually rewiring your brain to expect failure. Research shows that when we hold on to guilt and shame from past decisions, it creates what psychologists call learned helplessness. Basically, your brain starts believing that you're destined to make bad choices. But here's what's really happening when you're stuck in that cycle. Every time you replay that embarrassing moment from 5 years ago, every time you cringe at that relationship decision you made, every time you think, "I'm such an idiot for doing that," you're not just remembering the past, you're actually training your present self to doubt your judgment. Think about it this way: would you make better decisions today if you trusted yourself more? Of course you would. But when you're constantly criticizing your past self, you're eroding that trust. It's like having a really harsh critic living in your head, telling you that you can't be trusted with important decisions. And here's the hidden cost that most people don't realize: unforgiveness toward yourself doesn't just affect you. It seeps into your relationships, your career choices, your willingness to take healthy risks. When you don't forgive your past self, you start playing life in a defensive mode instead of living with confidence and authenticity. But, and this is crucial, forgiving yourself isn't about condoning mistakes or pretending they didn't happen. It's about liberating your future self from being held hostage by decisions you made when you had less wisdom, less experience, and often less choice than you have now. The beautiful truth is this: every mistake you've made has contributed to who you are today. And the person you are today deserves compassion, not constant punishment for things you can't change. Unpacking the what, identifying your past self's wounds. Now, before we can heal these wounds, we need to get specific about what we're actually dealing with. So I want you to take a moment, and you can pause this video if you need to, and think about the specific memories that still sting. These usually fall into a few categories. First, there are the "should have known better" moments. These are decisions you made that, looking back with your current knowledge and wisdom, seem obviously wrong. Maybe it's a relationship you stayed in too long, a career path you chose for the wrong reasons, or financial decisions that didn't pan out. Second, there are the missed opportunities, those moments when you didn't speak up, didn't take the chance, didn't pursue something that could have changed your life trajectory. Third, there are the moments when you hurt someone else, when your words or actions cause pain, and you can still feel the weight of that impact. But here's what's absolutely critical to understand: Your past self was doing the best they could with the resources, knowledge, emotional capacity, and circumstances they had at that time. This isn't making excuses, it's acknowledging reality. When you made that decision that you now regret, what was your past self going through? Were they dealing with anxiety, depression, family pressure, financial stress? Did they lack the life experience you now have? Were they operating from a place of fear, trying to protect themselves or someone else? There's a crucial difference between guilt and shame that we need to address here. Guilt says, I made a mistake. Shame says, I am a mistake. Guilt can motivate positive change and growth. Shame is destructive and keeps you stuck. If you're thinking, I shouldn't have trusted that person, that's guilt. You're acknowledging a decision you'd make differently now. But if you're thinking, I'm so stupid, I always make terrible decisions about people, that's shame. You're making your identity about one decision. The goal isn't to eliminate all guilt. Some guilt is healthy because it shows you care about the impact of your actions. The goal is to transform destructive shame into constructive understanding. And remember, if this content is resonating with you, make sure you're subscribed to Splendor because we dive deep into topics like this regularly, and I don't want you to miss any of these life-changing insights. The Compassionate Reframe, shifting your narrative. Now comes the transformative part, learning to observe your past self's actions with empathy instead of judgment. This is where the real healing happens. I want you to imagine your best friend came to you and described making the exact same mistake you're beating yourself up for. What would you say to them? You probably wouldn't say, "You're such an idiot, how could you be so stupid?" You'd likely say something like, "That sounds really difficult, you were in a tough situation, and you made the best decision you could with what you knew at the time. So why don't you extend that same compassion to yourself?" Here's a powerful technique that research shows can actually rewire your brain for self-compassion. When you catch yourself in harsh self-judgment, try this 3-step process. First, acknowledge the pain. Instead of pushing the feeling away, say something like, "This is a moment of suffering," or "This really hurts." Don't minimize it or tell yourself to get over it. Second, remember you're not alone. Remind yourself that making mistakes, feeling regret, and struggling with past decisions is part of the human experience. You could say, "Making mistakes is part of being human," or, "I'm not the only person who has ever felt this way." Third, offer yourself kindness. Place your hand on your heart and speak to yourself with the same gentleness you'd use with a good friend. "May I be kind to myself," or, "May I forgive myself for this mistake." This isn't just feel-good psychology. Neuroscience research shows that self-compassion actually activates the same neural networks as receiving compassion from others. You're literally giving yourself a dose of healing. Now let's talk about challenging those limiting beliefs that keep you stuck. Your past self made decisions based on the beliefs they held at the time. Some of those beliefs might have been, "I don't deserve good things," "I have to please everyone," or "taking risks is too dangerous." But here's the key insight. Just because your past self held these beliefs doesn't mean they were true then, and it certainly doesn't mean they have to be true now. You can craft a new, empowering story that acknowledges growth, not just mistakes. Instead of, "I wasted 5 years in the wrong relationship," try, "I learned valuable lessons about myself and what I need in a partnership." Instead of, "I chose the wrong career and lost so much time," try, "I gained experience and clarity about what truly matters to me." This isn't toxic positivity. You're not pretending the pain didn't happen. You're choosing to see the full picture, including how that experience contributed to your growth. Practical steps to release and reconcile. Alright, now let's get into the concrete, practical steps you can take to actually release these burdens and reconcile with your past self. These aren't just concepts, These are tools you can use starting today. The first powerful technique is writing a letter to your past self. I know this might sound a little woo-woo, but stick with me because this is backed by solid psychological research. Find a quiet time when you won't be interrupted. Get out a piece of paper or open a document on your computer. Address the letter to yourself at the age when you made the decision you're struggling to forgive. Start with acknowledgement, "Dear 25-year-old me," or whatever age is relevant. Then acknowledge what they were going through. I know you were scared. I know you felt like you had to choose quickly. I know you were doing your best with a difficult situation. Then offer forgiveness. I forgive you for making that choice. I understand why you made it, and I don't blame you anymore. Finally, share what you've learned. Because of this experience, I've learned, and I want you to know that we're okay now. We survived this, and we're actually stronger because of it. The act of writing this letter helps you externalize the compassion you need to heal. Keep the letter, and read it whenever you find yourself slipping back into self-criticism about this particular situation. The second technique is a visualization exercise for letting go of regret. Find a comfortable place to sit or lie down. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Visualize yourself meeting your past self at the moment when they made that decision. See them clearly, their age, what they were wearing, the expression on their face. Now, with all the wisdom and compassion you have today, approach your past self. Tell them, "I understand why you made this choice. You were doing your best. I forgive you." Visualize embracing your past self with genuine love and acceptance. Then, visualize taking the burden of regret. You might see it as a heavy backpack, a dark cloud, or whatever image feels right, and gently removing it from your past self's shoulders. Watch as they stand up straighter, look lighter, smile with relief. Now visualize releasing this burden completely. Maybe you throw it into the ocean, burn it in a fire, or watch it dissolve into light. The key is to make it a complete release. The third step, when appropriate, is making amends. If your past mistake hurt someone else and it's possible to make amends without causing more harm, consider doing so. This might mean a sincere apology that acknowledges the impact of your actions. Taking concrete steps to repair damage if possible. Changing your behavior to ensure you don't repeat the same mistake. But here's important. You can only control your part in making amends. You can't control whether the other person forgives you, and that's not actually necessary for your own healing process. Finally, create a ritual or symbolic act to mark your commitment to forgiveness. This could be burning a piece of paper with your regret written on it, planting a tree or flower to symbolize new growth, donating to a cause related to your mistake, creating art that represents your journey from pain to healing. The specific ritual doesn't matter. What matters is that it feels meaningful to you and marks a clear transition point between carrying this burden and releasing it. If you're finding these techniques helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd share this video with someone who might need to hear this message. Sometimes the people we care about are carrying burdens they don't even realize they can put down. Embracing the future, living unburdened. Now let's talk about what becomes possible when you truly forgive your past self. Because here's what most people don't realize. Self-forgiveness isn't just about healing from the past. It's about unlocking your future potential. When you're no longer spending mental and emotional energy beating yourself up for old mistakes, that energy becomes available for creativity, for taking healthy risks, for building deeper relationships, and for pursuing goals that truly matter to you. Self-forgiveness unlocks creativity because you're no longer afraid of making mistakes. When you know that you can handle failure with self-compassion, you become willing to try new things, to experiment, to push boundaries. It gives you courage because you trust yourself to navigate difficulties. You know that even if things don't go as planned, you'll treat yourself with kindness and learn from the experience rather than descending into self-attack. It improves your relationships because you stop projecting your self-criticism onto others. When you're harsh with yourself, you tend to be harsh with others too. When you learn self-compassion, you naturally become more compassionate with the people in your life. But to make this transformation lasting, you need to develop what I call a future self mindset. This means making decisions not just based on what feels good right now, but considering how your future self will feel about this choice. Before making important decisions, ask yourself, how will I feel about this choice in a year? In 5 years, will my future self thank me for this decision or struggle to forgive me for it? This isn't about perfectionism. It's about making choices from a place of self-respect and long-term thinking rather than from fear, impulse, or the need to please others. Here's your personalized blueprint for sustained self-compassion. Daily practice. Each morning, set an intention to treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. When you make mistakes during the day, and you will, because you're human, pause and speak to yourself with compassion instead of criticism. Weekly check-in. Once a week, reflect on any moments when you were harsh with yourself. Practice the 3-step self-compassion process we discussed earlier. Monthly review. Once a month, acknowledge the growth and positive changes you've made. Celebrate the progress, even if it feels small. Annual reflection. Once a year, write a letter to your past self from 12 months ago, acknowledging how much you've grown and changed. The most important thing to remember is this: self-forgiveness is not a destination you arrive at once and then you're done forever. It's a practice, a way of being, a choice you make again and again. Some days you'll need to forgive yourself for small things, being impatient with someone, eating too much sugar, procrastinating on important tasks. Other days you'll need to revisit bigger forgivenesses, especially during times of stress when old patterns of self-criticism might resurface. And that's completely normal and okay. The goal isn't to never be hard on yourself again. The goal is to catch it more quickly when you are, and to have the tools to return to self-compassion. Conclusion. The journey of forgiving your past self is ultimately a journey back to wholeness. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been spending on self-punishment and redirecting it toward creating the life you truly want. Your past self made decisions with the knowledge, resources, and emotional capacity they had at the time. They were doing their best, even when their best led to outcomes you now regret. They deserve your compassion, not your contempt. And here's the beautiful truth. When you forgive your past self, you're not just healing old wounds, you're creating space for your future self to make better choices from a place of self-love rather than self-doubt. Remember, you are not your mistakes. You are not your regrets. You are a human being worthy of love and compassion, especially from yourself. If this video helped you in any way, please hit that like button and let me know in the comments what resonated most with you. And if you know someone who's been carrying the weight of past regrets, please share this video with them. Sometimes the most generous thing we can do is help someone realize they have permission to forgive themselves. Don't forget to subscribe to Splendor for more content like this. We explore topics of personal growth, healing, and living with greater authenticity and peace. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You deserve it.